Welcome everybody. This is a story about free speech, one of many, starring Trenchard and Gordon. I hope each one of you can take something away from it, especially during these uncertain times. That said, just sit back and enjoy this deep dive into one part of our history in the fight for freedom of speech. In the fog-shrouded streets of London, where the Thames whispered secrets of empire and intrigue, the year 1720 dawned like a storm on the horizon. The air was thick with the scent of coal smoke and ambition, as merchants and nobles alike chased fortunes in the South Sea Company's glittering promises. But beneath the veneer of prosperity lurked corruption, a bubble waiting to burst. It was in this cauldron of deceit that two men, separated by generations but united by fire, embarked on a quest that would echo across oceans and centuries. John Trenchard, the seasoned radical with a pen sharp as a blade, and Thomas Gordon, the fiery Scot with eyes full of defiance, would become the anonymous voices of Cato, champions of freedom in an age when speaking truth could cost a man his life. Their story is not one of swords or battles, but of words, ink-stained battles against tyranny, where the prize was the soul of liberty itself. Freedom of speech, they argued, was no mere privilege but the bulwark of all freedoms. In an era when kings and parliaments silenced dissent with irons and exile, Trenchard and Gordon dared to proclaim that without the right to speak, a nation was enslaved. Their quest, fraught with peril and passion, would ignite revolutions and shape the modern world. Let us journey back, through the cobblestone alleys and candlelit taverns, to uncover the lives of these forgotten heroes. John Trenchard was born in 1662 in the rolling hills of Litchett-Matravers, Dorset, a quaint English village far from the political tempests of London. The Restoration era had just begun, with Charles II reclaiming the throne after the chaos of Cromwell's Commonwealth. It was a time of uneasy peace, where old loyalties simmered and new ideas bubbled. John's father, a modest landowner, instilled in him a love for the land and a wariness of unchecked power. Young John grew up hearing tales of the Civil War, stories of kings beheaded and parliaments risen, lessons that power corrupts and liberty is fragile. As a boy, Trenchard roamed the countryside, his mind as wild as the windswept moors. He was sharp-witted, with a mop of dark hair and eyes that pierced like daggers. Education came at Westminster School, where he devoured classics, Plato's Republic, Aristotle's Politics, and the Stoic wisdom of Cato the Younger, the Roman who defied Caesar unto death. These texts weren't just words, they were sparks igniting his soul. By his teens, Trenchard had moved to Trinity College, Oxford, but academia's stuffy halls couldn't contain his restless spirit. He left without a degree, drawn instead to the law and the bar, where arguments shaped destinies. The 1680s were turbulent. James II's Catholic leanings threatened Protestant England, and Trenchard, now in his 20s, plunged into Whig politics, the party of parliamentary supremacy and individual rights. He befriended radicals like Walter Moyle, and together they penned fiery pamphlets against standing armies, seeing them as tools of tyranny. An argument showing that a standing army is inconsistent with a free government, published in 1697, was Trenchard's clarion call. In it he warned that professional soldiers, loyal to the crown, could crush liberties won in blood. His words resonated in coffee houses, where men debated over steaming mugs, but they also drew the eye of authorities. Trenchard walked a razor's edge, his writings anonymous yet unmistakable. By 1700, Trenchard had risen. Elected MP for Taunton, he navigated the corridors of Westminster with cunning. Marriage to a wealthy heiress brought stability, but his heart remained with reform. He railed against corruption in government, seeing bribes and favoritism as cancers on the body politic. Yet, as the new century unfolded, Trenchard grew disillusioned. Queen Anne's reign brought wars and debts, and the Whigs splintered. Retiring to his estates, he pondered deeper questions. What safeguards liberty? How can speech, the voice of the people, be protected from the muzzle of power? It was in this reflective phase that fate introduced him to a young firebrand from the north, Thomas Gordon. Their meeting around 1719 was no accident. Whig circles buzzed with shared ideals, and Trenchard, seeking a collaborator, found in Gordon a kindred spirit. Thomas Gordon entered the world around 1691 in Kirkcudbright, a rugged Scottish town by the Solway Firth, where the sea met the Highlands in eternal clash. Little is recorded of his childhood. History often overlooks the obscure until they blaze forth. But we can imagine a boy shaped by Scotland's fierce independence. The Act of Union in 1707, merging Scotland with England, was fresh in memory, breeding resentment against distant London rule. Gordon's family, likely Presbyterian and middling, taught him the value of education and the peril of tyranny. As a youth, Gordon absorbed the Scottish Enlightenment's early stirrings. Locke's treatises on government, emphasizing consent and rights, became his Bible. He moved to London in his 20s, a wide-eyed Scot amid the metropolis's roar. The city was a labyrinth of opportunity and vice, playhouses, printing presses, and political clubs. Gordon scraped by as a tutor and writer, his sharp tongue earning him gigs in periodicals. He translated Tacitus and Sallust, Roman historians who exposed imperial corruption, honing his prose into a weapon. Gordon's radicalism flowered in the 1710s. He decried religious intolerance, advocating separation of church and state. His pamphlets attacked the clergy's grip, earning him enemies in high places. But it was the South Sea bubble of 1720 that ignited his fury. The company's stock soared on hype, only to crash, ruining thousands while insiders profited. Gordon saw it as emblematic of systemic rot, government complicity and fraud, silencing critics with censorship laws. In Whig taverns, Gordon's eloquence drew admirers. One evening, amid pipe smoke and ale, he met John Trenchard. The elder man, grizzled and wise, listened as Gordon railed against the bubble's architects. "Words are our only shield," Gordon declared, his Scottish brogue cutting through the din. Trenchard nodded, eyes alight. "Then let us forge them into swords." Their bond was instant, a mentor and protege, united against oppression. Gordon brought youth's vigor to Trenchard's experience. Together they plotted in secret rooms, drafting essays that would challenge the Crown's authority. Freedom of speech became their mantra, for without it, how could corruption be exposed? Gordon's life, until then a wanderer's tale, now had purpose. The South Sea bubble's collapse in September 1720 was cataclysmic. Fortunes evaporated overnight. Suicides filled the papers. Mobs howled for justice. Parliament, entangled in the scheme, moved to suppress dissent. Seditious libel laws loomed, threatening printers and writers with the pillory, or worse. Trenchard and Gordon watched from the shadows. "This is our moment," Trenchard said, pacing his study lined with books. "The people need a voice uncowed by fear." Gordon agreed, suggesting they adopt a pseudonym to evade arrest. They chose Cato, honoring the Roman Stoic who chose death over tyranny. Their first letter appeared on November 5, 1720, in the London Journal. "Reasons to prove that we are in no danger of losing Gibraltar." It was a veiled attack on foreign policy corruption, but soon their scope widened. Weekly essays poured forth, 144 in total by 1723, covering liberty, tyranny, religion, and trade. Letter number 15, penned by Gordon, became legendary. "Freedom of speech is the great bulwark of liberty. They prosper and die together." He argued that silencing speech invites despotism, for traitors fear exposure. Trenchard complemented with pieces on standing armies and public credit, warning of debts enslaving nations. Their collaboration was symbiotic. Trenchard in his 50s provided depth and historical insight. Gordon in his 30s infused passion and wit. They met clandestine, drafts exchanged by trusted couriers. "If we falter," Trenchard once whispered, "liberty falters with us." The letters spread like wildfire, reprinted in pamphlets and smuggled abroad. Readers debated in alehouses. Cato speaks truth, but danger lurked. Government spies infiltrated presses and arrests mounted. As Cato's letters gained traction, so did the backlash. Prime Minister Walpole, architect of post-bubble recovery, saw them as threats. In 1721, the journal's printer was hauled before Parliament, accused of libel. Trenchard and Gordon went underground, writing from hidden garrets. One night a knock echoed at Trenchard's door. An informant warned of raids. "We must persist," Gordon urged via note. They diversified, publishing in other papers. Gordon even apprenticed secretly with a printer to understand the trade. Their quest deepened. Letters tackled free speech's essence, not just politics but religion and conscience. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech, Gordon wrote. Trenchard added on slavery and liberty, drawing from Roman history. Personal tolls mounted. Trenchard's health faltered. Gout plagued him, but his resolve didn't. Gordon, ever the optimist, buoyed him. Our words will outlive us. By 1722, their influence crossed the Atlantic. Colonial printers reprinted Cato, fueling discontent with British rule. In Boston and Philadelphia, men like Benjamin Franklin devoured the essays, planting seeds of revolution. Yet, triumph mixed with tragedy. In 1723, Trenchard succumbed to illness, dying at 61. Gordon mourned his mentor, continuing the letters briefly, before compiling them into volumes. Gordon pressed on alone, marrying Trenchard's widow's maid for companionship and security. Appointed commissioner of wine licenses, he found stability, but never abandoned writing. Translations of Tacitus carried Cato's spirit, warning of imperial decay. Their legacy exploded in America. Cato's letters were the most popular, quotable, esteemed source for colonial ideas. Thomas Jefferson cited them. John Adams echoed their warnings on tyranny. The Zenger trial of 1735, defending press freedom, drew directly from Cato. Revolutionaries invoked free speech as a right. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, from Letter 15. The Declaration of Independence and Constitution bore their imprint, liberty's bulwark against oppression. Gordon lived to 1750, witnessing early stirrings of colonial unrest. In his final years he reflected on their quest, words that freed minds, sparking chains to break. Trenchard and Gordon's story is a testament to courage. In an age of censorship, they fought with intellect, proving speech's power to topple empires. Their ideas influenced the First Amendment, safeguarding free expression. Today, in digital eras of misinformation and surveillance, their warnings resonate. Freedom of speech remains liberty's guardian, terror to oppressors. The Cato Institute, named after their letters, continues the fight. Their quest, born in 1720, lives on, a beacon for all who dare speak truth to power. I hope you enjoyed this brief journey through history. If so, a subscription would be appreciated. Have a wonderful day, and remember to stay curious.